Welcome back to Cultivating Contentment. We are on week 10, day 3, halfway through week 10 of our study, and our topic this week is Even If. Our scripture verse today comes from Psalm 18:18. They confronted me in the day of my disaster, but the Lord was my support. So that just kind of continues our theme that the Lord is really what we rely on through all of those rough times. And our quote for today comes from Patsy Claremont. I have learned that pain has a purpose, which at the peak of excruciating discomfort brings me little consolation. Hindsight, though, has often proven pain's value. In fact, I have found pain to be one of life's most effective teachers. It gains one's full attention. It takes lessons down to the bottom line. So I was reading your comments from yesterday just before this, and this kind of reminds me of Margie's story about her knee. So during that, the peak of excruciating discomfort, it brings little consolation to know that you're trying to learn a life lesson there. But when you look back and you see, how maybe you can be an encouragement to somebody else that's going through the same thing. It's a little bit easier when you're through it and out to the other side and looking back on it than when you're actually going through it. So we are halfway through week 10, and so this is kind of our little midweek wrap-up, or not wrap-up, but midweek check-in. So when I picture myself in the perfect Christian walk, I see a woman who's patient and wise. She's completely faithful in studying the Word. She's committed to prayer. She always knows just what to do and what to say and how to react. She's loving, compassionate, and confident in sharing her faith with others. My ideal life doesn't involve any bumps or scrapes. I'd really find it easier to be content if life would move along smoothly and without surprises. Wouldn't you think God would be pleased by those noble desires? Actually, I don't think God's impressed with my daydreams. Wishing for perfection doesn't accomplish the Lord's work in me. He can use me just as I am, so long as I'm willing to be used. And all those trials I have to go through serve His purpose in making me grow into the person He wants me to become. Sometimes that growing brings along, those growing pains. We have to endure some difficult things. I look back on my life and, it really has been pretty easy. There have been some difficult times, but when I look back, it's nothing compared to what other people endure on a day-to-day basis. Sure, we didn't know how we were going to buy groceries the next week, when I look back and think about that. But you know what? God always provided. Or we didn't know, how to deal with sickness in the family. I've lost in the last, less than 10 years, I've lost my mom, my dad, and my sister. And those were really rough times, but when I look back, I can see where God was walking with me through all of that. It didn't make the things easier at the time. It didn't take away the pain, but it brought comfort knowing that God is walking with us during those difficult times. So our first question for today in James 1:2, how does James say we should react when trials come? And how long will our trials last? Do they serve any purpose? Check out 1 Peter 1:6-17 for maybe some insight on that. Sometimes our trials last a really long time. And sometimes not. So I know for me, sometimes it's hard when I'm going through something really difficult to look around and see that, others aren't experiencing that. Why is it so easy for other people? But, at the same time, I maybe wasn't around when they were going through their really difficult times. Um, and, we don't always know what their past has been. So, um, I just to share a little bit about what I'm doing. I was supposed to be in Houston, Texas this week and next week, taking a class for teaching a new engineering class next year. And instead, because of all of COVID and all the travel restrictions, we're doing it virtually. And now I understand what my students have gone through in the last 3 months. This virtual learning is tough. So it would be so much easier if we were in person and not having the distractions of the day-to-day stuff going on at home. So usually I'm holed up in a hotel for 2 weeks during this training and do the class from 8 to 5 every day, and then go back and work in my hotel room until I get everything finished, which sometimes is, right up until bedtime. So just trying to adjust and figure out a schedule on how to do this. So I'm sitting on the computer a lot these days, which I'm not enjoying that much. But this is my little break, doing the videos for the Bible study, so I appreciate that. So stay safe, stay healthy, and blessings to you and your family, and I look forward to talking with you tomorrow.